It's time now for French Connections, our weekly look at the intricacies of life here in France with Florence Villeminot. Hi, Flo.
Hi, Genie.
This week we're going to focus on you and me. Well, not us specifically, but on France 24, because there's currently a debate about reforming France's public television and radio stations. So we just wanted to remind you a bit more about where we come from and how we fit into the media landscape in France.
That's right, because the culture minister, Rachida Dati, she wants to create what she's calling a BBC à la française, so a French-style BBC. She's said that she wants to merge France's public TV and radio stations, which are currently separate entities. So this is an idea of what it could look like. She has said that she wants to merge France Télévisions, Radio France, INA, which is the Institut National de l'Audiovisuel, which is kind of an archive. And then you've got us here, France Medias Monde, so that's us here at France 24, as well as our sister international radio station, RFI, and MCD, which is Monte Carlo Doualiya, an Arab language radio station. So all this would become this new entity called France Medias. It's still a little murky here, and the one thing that's unclear is exactly what it could mean for our future here at France 24.
Exactly. So still a lot of question marks at the moment, but while we're thinking about all of that, let's actually take a moment to step back and look at the past, how we got here. So France Medias Monde was created in 2008, but tell us a bit more about our own channel, France 24, when and why it was created in the first place.
So France 24 was launched on the 6th of December, 2006, almost 18 years ago. Don't do the math, but I just did it for you. And so you were there, Genie. I joined a year and a half later. And this was an initiative of the late President Jacques Chirac. So in the wake of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, he thought it was important to have an alternative to the Anglo-dominated news media at the time, hence France 24, an international news channel with a French tinge. And I should actually say international news channels because in 2006 there were 3 channels. There was one in French, one in English, and one in Arabic. Our Spanish language channel, which is based in Colombia, was launched in 2017. Let's listen to Jacques Chirac. You can see him here describing the philosophy, the founding philosophy of France 24 on the day we were launched.
Il est indispensable qu'un grand pays comme la France puisse avoir son regard sur le monde et diffuser ce regard. Naturellement, conforme à nos traditions, à notre conception de la civilisation, de la paix, de l'humanisme, de la mondialisation.
So France 24 has certainly evolved a lot since its creation. What does it represent today?
Well, I'm going to toot our own horn here for a minute, Genie. Our strength is really our languages and our reach. Not to bombard you with too many figures, but France 24 broadcasts 24/7 around the world in French, English, Arabic, and Spanish. We have 450 journalists who work for France 24. We have a network of 160 correspondents based in just about every country. Now, the 4 channels really work closely together, and we have a combined weekly TV audience of 100 million viewers. So who is watching? Who are these viewers? Well, you, of course, and also people around the world. In some countries where freedom of press is quite dodgy, France 24 is sometimes the only reliable source of information. It's very appreciated around the world, and I'm not just saying it, you're saying it.
بحضر فرانس 24 لأنه في بروجرام كتير بهم المرأة اللي هي الحدث.
Other channels they only concentrate on their own country. Like France 24, you find that they cover different elections.
So France 24 gives a French perspective on global affairs, but it's very important to point out that we are not a state-run company like China's CCTV or Russia Today.
That's right. We have complete editorial independence, and we are not the mouthpiece of the Élysée Palace. On the contrary, there have been moments when we have quite irked and irritated those higher up. That being said, we are a public company funded by government money. So the budget for France Medias Monde is about 300 million euros a year.
That's
which,
me.
Oh yeah, there's you, Genie. And that's me with a questionable haircut.
A baby.
Exactly. So our budget is about 300 million euros a year, which is quite small compared to other French news channels and other world channels that are similar to us. For instance, Deutsche Welle has a budget of about 320 million. Where does our money come from? Taxpayer money. And a huge chunk of our budget used to come from something called la redevance télé, which was a special TV tax. But that was scrapped in 2022. So now our money comes from VAT.
So what's really interesting about this is that for a French media company, we're actually not that well known actually here in France. So things are better over the years. There's no longer the days of people going, France 20 what?
That used to happen a lot. But what's interesting is we're not really catered to an audience here in France. And still a lot of people here in France don't really understand France 24 and how we're different from other French channels. Apparently, some of the lawmakers that are actually voting for our budget as well. So what's interesting to note is that while we don't represent the voice of the Élysée Palace, we do, however, defend certain French and European values. For instance, we have a show that's dedicated to women's issues, the 51%. We also have an environment show. We have a European show. We have French connections here as well. And in all of that sense, we are an instrument of soft power that can be useful on the diplomatic front. And that leads me to our expression du jour, which is actually the motto of France 24, Liberté, Égalité, Actualité. You might have seen the little twist there. It is a slight twist of the French motto, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. And, with the rise of authoritarianism around the world, with the rise of fake news, our role is more important than ever. So forgive us this navel-gazing, but we thought it was important to remind you of why you're watching us. And if you want to let us know, feel free to tweet about it as well.
Absolutely. Flo, thank you so much. It's always good to think about where you come from as well. Florence Villeminot there with your latest French connections. Don't forget, if you have any other questions about France or the French, or you want to tweet about France 24, you can always reach out at Flo Villeminot or check it out on the website.